Hi friends, this is Miss Paula. Today I am going to be reading The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. And the pictures are a little bit small, so I am going to do my very best to try and show you. But this is a book that I used to read when I was a little girl, and I want to share it with you today. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. This is their home. And there are the 4 of them with their mom underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. Mcgregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. Mcgregor." And there is the mama rabbit, and she's getting her little kids ready. "Now run along and don't get into mischief." That means don't get into trouble. "I am going out." Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. And here she is with her basket, and she's going to go buy some bread at the baker's. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. So there they are. Uh-oh, but where's Peter Rabbit? They didn't mention Peter. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. Mcgregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. There he is, squeezing under. Uh-oh, sounds like he's gonna get into trouble. First, he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Here he is, eating radishes. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. He was kind of full after all of that. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. Mcgregor? Oh no. What do you think is going to happen to Peter Rabbit? Mr. Mcgregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Here he is with the rake running after Peter Rabbit. Oh no, do you think he's going to catch him? Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He was so scared. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. Look at his shoe. He lost it. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs, and he went faster, so that I think he might have gotten away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. It looks like a nice jacket, except now he got stuck inside that net because of the buttons. Oh no. Poor Peter Rabbit. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. So these little sparrows, these birds, they flew over to Peter Rabbit, and they were encouraging him to not give up. Mr. Mcgregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter. But Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind. Look, Mr. Mcgregor almost caught Peter, but he got out just in time. Let's see. And rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. There he is, jumping into the can. Mr. Mcgregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Kerchoo! Mr. Mcgregor was after him in no time. Look, do you see Peter hiding? He's in the can. Mr. Mcgregor probably wouldn't have found him if he hadn't sneezed, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. Mcgregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. There he is, almost stepping on Peter. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp. Sitting in that can means he was wet. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. So here's Peter trying to get out of this door, but he doesn't fit. And down here's the little mouse that he was asking, where's the gate? Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. That means more and more confused. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. Mcgregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. Here's the cat, looking at the goldfish. But Peter decided not to talk to the cat because it seems like the cat is dangerous. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. Mcgregor hoeing onions. His back was turned toward Peter, and beyond him was the gate. So here's Peter looking. Oh, and there's Mr. Mcgregor. And look really, really far. There's the gate. He needs to get all the way over there without Mr. Mcgregor seeing him. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. Mcgregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Whew. So here's Peter escaping. And look at Mr. Mcgregor in the back, chasing him with a rake. Mr. Mcgregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Oh, so he found Peter Rabbit's jacket and his little shoes, and he made a scarecrow to scare the birds away. Does it look like he scared the birds away? I don't think so. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. There he is, so tired. He just plopped down. Oh, and look at his little brothers and sisters looking. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. And there's Peter in the back. He's not feeling very well. He must have been so scared. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end. Oh, so they had behaved, so they were able to enjoy their supper. But poor Peter Rabbit, he was in bed because he was so scared. I hope you enjoyed The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Bye.